looks. I was bullied about my size. I was bullied about my loudness. I was bullied about my voice. I was bullied about the fact that I had the confidence to just burst out singing. We forget this. We push them so far in the back of our head that we don't even realize that they're there and that they're still affecting us years later. It's okay to say I was wrong. It's okay to say someone else knew more and they were trying to help me and I didn't take it. We have a brilliant saying. It's called, you don't buy a pig in a bag. So you don't yeah, I know, we're weird. Put an ice cube into your mouth because this will activate a fight or flight mode to your body. It's exactly like getting brain freeze. You can be a $10,000 speaker for sure, but you gotta put the hard work in.
On this week's Engaging Marketeer podcast, I am speaking with public speaker and speaking coach Susanna Lähteelä from Finland. Susanna now lives in the Czech Republic, and she teaches people how to get their stories out when they go onto a stage or they just want to overcome something in their life that gets them more outward facing, more happy to speak in front of people, and shows them the techniques and the skills they need just to be better versions of themselves. Obviously, we are both speakers, so this is going to be quite an engaging conversation. I think you're going to enjoy this one. You're a public speaker and a trainer for people who want to talk. And
Yes.
One of the, obviously, public speaking has one of the biggest fear factors for people ever going. What's been your experience with people that you've helped in terms of fear for getting up and talking in front of others?
Ooh, great question. Yes, I do help people. And yes, glossophobia is one of the most common fear in the world, and hence why I'm pretty like I'm in a good industry myself. But when it comes to the people who I've helped, the main issue that people have when it comes to public speaking, it's not really being on the stage. It's more about the confidence and the lack of confidence that we have when it comes to being in front of people. We are feared of being judged. That's the number one thing that people say when they come on a call with me, when they think about they want to be coached, they want to be helped on this industry. It's always, when it comes to the very end of it, it always comes to the fear of being judged by someone, or they've been judged in the past, or they have some sort of trauma to it, which I can relate myself to. So it's very easy for me to connect with my kind of clients with that way. But yeah, that's number one. Absolutely, is the self-confidence and the lack of judgment, or the fear of the judgment. Yeah.
Okay, you've dropped that straight in there, so I've got to pick up on that. You mentioned something that you've experienced in the past, or trauma or judgment that you've experienced. What was that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I grew up in Finland. I'm originally from Finland. Haven't lived there for 6 years now, but not sure how much your audience knows about Finnish culture. It's Finnish people are very introverted, shy, quiet, until they get alcohol, but that's a different story. But myself, I've always been extroverted, loud, kind of out there, and very different from the cultural norm. And obviously growing up, that was something that I didn't really see. Obviously, as a child, I didn't realize cultural norms or, how the society is around me. But I was extremely bullied all my school years. I was bullied about my looks. I was bullied about my size. I was bullied about my loudness. I was bullied about my voice. I was bullied about the fact that I had the confidence to just burst out singing, or I was a weird kid, especially in Finland. But yeah, it was hard times. I did fought back a lot. My mother, and I love her to death, and she always told me that there is enough voice in this world for everyone, so just let it shine. And that's what I did, and I did that for years. But it did get to you when you're a 7-year-old and you start to, you go to school, and first day in school, your introductory day to the school, and you're being bullied. And it did take a big hit in my confidence, and it kept going and going and going. And I thought, okay, this is great. First 6 years, I fought back. And then he kept going, and then he kept going. And then he got more brutal, obviously, as we got older. And I got exhausted from it. It did hit my confidence, and I started slowly adjusting to the culture rather than fighting back because I got so fucking exhausted from it. So I did adjust my own confidence rather than adjusting maybe other people's perspective on me. which was a huge mistake, but we have to make mistakes to learn from them. So I did that, and it ended up to a whole new kind of swarm of things in my life. I found myself in extremely wrong relationships because I just existed. I wasn't myself. I wasn't my confidence own bubble. I was just existing, and people definitely took that and used it and pushed me down even more. And yeah, we went into very deep waters there throughout the years, and went through depression, went through alcohol problems, went to addictions, went through, like, it was a horrible time in my life. So that's the since you said let's crack it open, that's what I've gone through. It's but I'm really happy I went through that, because that's something that I will never forget. Like, no matter how many years go by, no matter what happens, I remember where I came from. And that's what makes me so good at this industry as well as a coach, because I can truly relate to these people if they have some sort of trauma, or if they have some sort of lack of self-confidence, or they don't know that there's a better future, or they don't trust that there's a better future. I'm a living proof that there is. So it's such an honor for me to be coaching people weekly to get better and get their self-esteem better as well.
Do you find it's quite common that people who want to get better at public speaking, whether that's to speak on a stage or just speaking in front of clients, that they tend to have something that's happened to them that's knocked their confidence and made them feel they can't do it?
Ooh, 50-50, I would say. So 50% of people who I've talked, who I've coached, and they are lacking the confidence, or they're lacking, anything, they have something that they can right away pick it up. I asked them, I said, what's the thing that hurt you? And they tell me a story just like I did now. They know it. It's easy. It's visible. It's in our knowledge. But that's the easy people to work with. Like, if you are aware, anyone listening, if you're aware of your problems, it's so much easier to work on your problems. But if you're not aware of them, that's where the tricky parts comes in. And that's what I love coaching people about, because when I go through coaching, I coach only 6 weeks of my clients. We go through transformational 6 weeks. But when we go through something I call confidential coaching or confidence coaching, it really goes to the point of, we actually break you down to pieces and say, we find what is the thing that actually made who you are. So I just last week actually had one of these sessions with one of my clients who is like the most confident person when he is in front of an audience or when he is somewhere, but inside he's dying. And it's always like, oh, I can fake it till I make it. I used to use that sentence too, but I hate it. Why faking it when you can just real life live it? And that's where we start realizing that maybe it was your parents who affected on you. Maybe it was your parents didn't have time to listen to you. They maybe told you, not now I'm working, which is a very normal thing. They maybe were told at school, hey, you know what? Let's let someone do this project. Let's not you let do this. But we forget this. We push them so far in the back of our head that we don't even realize that they're there and that they're still affecting us years later. So that's where self-reflection is such an important aspect of public speaking, because unless you're willing to really be brutal with yourself, unless you're willing to be authentic and vulnerable with your audience, and if you're not vulnerable with yourself, you will never be vulnerable with your audience to the real authentic point of view. So that's where the real tricky parts comes in, and that's where it gets painful. And I mean, I'd love to live by my own quotation. It's always uncomfortable before it becomes comfortable, because everything is. And these moments, especially when we find those moments, just in that meeting last week, when this adult man just started crying when they realized what actually is the deep problem there. It's so relieving when we actually let it just burst out, when we actually don't hold to it anymore. And it's not magic. I'm not saying one session and we're cured. Fuck no. It takes work, and it takes time, and it takes self-reflection, and it takes real brutal work with yourself, not just with a coach, to get over that hurdle and really build up to that confidence.
I've got to be honest, when you started describing that, it sounded like me. Which one? Well, they're very comfortable in front of an audience, but not so good on my own or in a one-to-one. I find one-to-one conversations more difficult. But you put me in front of 50, 60 people, I look like everything's going well and I've got my shit together, which is weird.
That's rare, though. That's rare, though.
It is rare.
Then in that case, oh, wait, can I be very brutal from a third perspective, just an outsider point of view?
Go for it.
Have you had a very bad breakup in your past?
Well, who hasn't? But yes. Well, that was a telling answer, wasn't it? That was a telling answer.
Oh, you answered everything right there and then.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah. Yep. That's where it lays there. When we are uncomfortable in one-on-one situation in public speaking and discussions, there is a relationship trauma. And it might affect just this much, but it affects.
I do. This has turned into a therapy session. I do think.
Didn't mean to do that.
I said we're going to go with the flow, but I do think my speaking in front of people in public, it goes before a relationship breakup. Because I used to do that in university. We used to have to do talks in front of university, and I was the one that wanted to get up on the stage and speak to everybody. I was the one who was perfectly comfortable delivering everything without a script. I was the one that insisted on music for my entrance. I know, weird.
All right, Mr. Confidence.
Yeah, I did. So it does go before that. So there must be something more further in the past that means I'm like that. I don't know what that is.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Some sort of one-to-one relationship has been there if it's the one-to-one conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. I blame my dad.
Let's blame him.
Let's blame my dad.
It's normally the dad. It's just normally the dad. So let's put it on. Yeah.
Because what you just said, too busy to deal with that now, too busy. I didn't see a lot of him.
It's normally the masculine dads that didn't have the time to be a vulnerable dad.
That's the one. Oh, well, there we go.
Ah, there we thought we did.
That's the reason. That's the reason that I'm a show off in front of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but you say it's 50-50. 50% people have sort of traumas that are affecting them, and 50%. That's quite high of people that have issues then that want to overcome it with public speaking.
Yeah, a lot.
So,
but that's why glossophobia is one of the most feared fear in the world. So it's so sad that public speaking has become this. And I mean, I can say because I've been there, I never thought I'm gonna get rid of this fear. It was an accidental thing that happened that I got away with it. But I know the fear, and it's so common. And yeah, it's definitely 50-50. And everyone has some sort of fear. Everyone. So it's just acknowledging what the fear is so that we can get rid of the fear, or not really get rid of the fear, but kind of train the fear to now be our driving force. And that's why, because I had so many fears in the past, I think that's the reason why I'm pretty good at this industry now, because that's my driving force. There's just so much energy behind me because I will never forget where I came from, and that's where I take a lot of pride on what I have gone through as well.
Okay. In terms of people listening to this thinking, I'd love to get better at public speaking, can anybody, and how long would it take, go from being sort of a shy, retiring, I'm not too sure about speaking in front of people, to getting on a stage and delivering a 45-minute keynote talk with no notes, no slides in front of hundreds of people?
Yes, anybody can do that. To answer your first question. To answer your second question, how? If you are not willing to hire a coach for yourself and get there faster, there's definitely ways to get there slower on your own. With the slight support, I would always recommend Toastmasters. The public speaking organization, global, is in every country at this point. And if it's not in your country, you will find an online club from another country. I got rid of my fear of public speaking through Toastmasters. And it was a long journey. Yeah, absolutely. It was a long journey. I was hired in a Fortune 100 company as a communication advisor. And I felt like a fraud because I had to do presentations, but I was afraid of it. And it felt very complex. And I saw this poster saying Toastmasters where leaders are made, and I thought, what is this fucking cult? And I thought, let me see it. So I went once, and I was so nervous. I was so nervous in my first meeting. I remember just sitting in the room, not wanting to talk. It was just terrifying for me. But something happened, some sort of click happened that this is it. Go again. Go again and just talk one time, like introduce yourself, like, yeah. And I did that, and I went one time, and that's when I decided if I want to get rid of this fear, I need to jump full into the deep end with the sharks, without any, life support. And that's what I did. I started having speech after speech after speech after speech. My mentor pushed me into competitions. I ended up winning very high level competitions very fast, and I thought it was a fluke for a first timer, whatever, let's let this, cute blonde win, she's trying so hard. and that's what I thought on the first year. And I went back the second year because I wanted to prove myself that I have a skill, I know what I'm doing, this is not just a fluke. And I went back the next year, and I actually ended up winning in 2 different categories, an Eastern European Championship, and then ended up competing in European Championships on that year too. And that was the year when I was kind of like, okay, this is not a fluke. I'm really good at this. And that's when I started thinking, how can I do this more and more and more and more? And that's where everything started. My journey, long story short. But it wasn't easy. I'm not saying go to Toastmasters and it's going to happen like this. Fuck no. I had speech after speech after speech. Like I said, I was uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable in so many meetings. And I just pushed through that. I went through those meetings where we were, during COVID time, we were in Zoom during Toastmaster meetings. I had to put a filter on because I was just white as a ghost because I was so nervous to give a speech. And thank you, Zoom, for those filters. But but it was a hard work. But those are the tools that you can use, either getting a coach or going to an organization where there's a supportive group that can help you and give you feedback. But those are just the tools. It's more important what you do with your mindset. So when you do realize that you want to get rid of this fear, it's not just, oh, that sounds nice, I want to get rid of this fear. That would never work. I have a soccer background. I still play semi-professionally soccer here in Czech Republic. And I played soccer now for 25 years. And it's not like, oh, I watch a video of a soccer game and now I say, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to one practice and after that I'm going to start in game. No. You got to learn how to take your touches. You got to learn how to pass. You got to learn how to control the ball. You got to learn how to have the mindset. You got to build up your cardio to be able to play. You got to build up so much around it. And that's why public speaking goes so hand in hand with sports, because there's so many aspects. There's your body language. There's your vocal variety. There's the structure. There's how you feel. There's your confidence. There's your self-esteem. There's everything and thousands other things that there's those little nitty-gritty details that you have to start learning, and you have to start really understanding that I will start here, but this is going to be hard work to get to hundreds of people in front of you on a stage without notes, with slides, with everything. But anyone can do it. That's 100% it. When you have the right mindset, anyone can do it.
And are you Slavia Prague or Sparta Prague?
Ooh, neither. I am Prague Raptors.
Prague Raptors.
It's the only international club we have in Czech Republic. So we play against them, though, and we actually won Sparta last weekend 2-0. So I'm going to toot our horn here.
Oh, fantastic. Well done.
So, yeah. Thank you. Great club. Yeah.
Excellent. And in terms of, you went to Toastmasters and you got better at public speaking and you had a coach that pushed you into stuff. But how did you transition from doing talks in front of a supportive environment like Toastmasters to going out and doing presumably paid talks and talks for businesses?
Yes. That I need to say thank you for Toastmasters. My very first gigs came from winning these championships. I got a lot of visibility in the industry. I got a lot of visibility in multiple countries. I started to be a name in the industry overall. And that's where people started getting interested, and then they started wanting to go on a Zoom call with me and then hire me as a speaker to their events. That was out of doubt, no lies. That's how I got there. It was the competitions that got me there first. After that, and what I coach to my clients and what they get all the time results with, is just the brutal hard work. don't expect a miracle. No, there is thousands and thousands and thousands of speakers out there, but nobody has your story. Everyone has their individual story. So when they know how to put that story into interesting perspective with all the new skills that they learn, there's no one who can compete with you. So someone might have very similar speaking style. Someone might have the same energy as you have. Someone might look alike. Someone might have a similar background as you do. But when you find from learning the industry and learning these aspects and these really detailed aspects of the industry overall, you will be different in so many different ways. Because there's so many speakers who don't go out there and just contact people. Hey, I see you have an event. Are you looking for speakers? Because they're always expecting, this is where ego comes in. Oh, our lovely friend ego. When ego comes in and we're like, oh, I'm too big for that. I'm not going to message them. If they want me, they will contact me. Don't keep waiting, unless you are a huge name and you went viral with your reels or whatever, and now you're big on YouTube or something like this, or you had a great TEDx, and like that's different. But if you are a self-built speaker, be humble. You can still be confident, but be humble. I love telling people that ego is something we should be leaving aside, and we should be focused on authentic confidence instead. Because a lot of people keep saying, even to myself, I'm a very brutal and straightforward person. Yeah, granted, Scandinavians are like that, but I'm even more so. And everyone always says, oh, Susanna, you're so rude. And I said, oh God, no, I'm confident with my words. And that's where the difference comes in, because if you're humble and you're willing to do the hard work, that's where the difference is seen. And that's where you will get the gigs. And it might not be the first 20. It might not even be the first 50, but the 51st, the 52nd. And when you get the one speaking gig, take it on video. Because then you have some sort of reel, you have some sort of speaking material, then now you can market yourself in a whole new aspect, or now you can create reels in social media, as we've seen. It's a huge, huge, huge importance in any business. So that's kind of the stepping points that we have to take. But I'm not going to lie, the beginning is not easy. So that's why I'm saying the mindset needs to be there before anything else.
So it's very much a personal perseverance thing, that you seek out speaking opportunities and you contact them and you ask them, do you need speakers for your event?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's where it starts. And then when you are a speaker in couple events, that's where referral starts coming in. So when you do your work correctly, when you give a great speech, especially when you give a great speech, they want you again. They get hooked on your energy. Audience gives great feedback. Maybe they even post about you on social media and this speaker was amazing. The organizer will see that. And that's where it comes with, you have to build your image as a speaker. I'm fully aware that myself, I've been in this industry for 2 years only. This is something, I've been in Toastmasters now for 4 years, but I've been paid in this industry for 2 years only. I have years ahead. I'm staying humble. I know how great I am. I'm humble. I'm fucking amazing at this. But I know how long journey I have ahead. Nobody is a star overnight. And it's just, you have to put the hard work in. And I know it comes from my sports background, and I will never not compare it. As in, I've played soccer for 25 years. And now I maybe be able to, take an amazing touch or have an awesome shot or get a great goal. But there's no way I would have done that when I started. Like, no way my first 2 years. So it's all about the build up. It's all about building the confidence and your knowledge and keeping the mindset and, being willing to put the hard work in. Because that's something that I see a lot, because people are expecting, oh, I do this 6-week program and now I'm going to be a $10,000 speaker. And I'm like, oh, honey, no, that's not what it is. You need to build it up. You need to really focus on it. You can be a $10,000 speaker for sure, but you got to put the hard work in. And nowadays people are a little too impatient with, all technology, everything. And we get stuff quite easily. You make a great social media reel, you get visibility like that. Speaking is not the same. If you want to be in physical stages, you got to put the hard work in.
And that, again, as you've brought it up, $10,000 for a speech, how do you go about positioning yourself in terms of what you're going to charge for clients when you're just starting? And do you accept those opportunities that come to you and say, as a lot of people in the creative industry do, oh, will you do this for free for the exposure?
Yes, absolutely. In the beginning, free. Whatever they're willing to give you. What I would always say as give a little tip so that you can get something out of it is especially travel cost. Ask them to pay that. That's like minimum. But ask them to give you an extra VIP ticket to the event. You can benefit something. You can be in the event. You can maybe market yourself. You can network in the event. That's something that everybody's willing to give because there's no cost to them to give you one more ticket. It's their event. So that's absolutely something I always ask too. Or even in the beginning, so that my husband could be with me. But it's always like start from somewhere. And again, it comes back to be humble. It doesn't matter how many speaking contests I won and so how big I felt in Toastmasters. I was still nobody when it comes to being on those stages and being on those actual paid stages. So you have to start from somewhere, and that's where you will start feeling when you have to start raising your price. This is something I go through in my coaching as well with people. We go through kind of what's the industry specific price for that country that you want to target in. There's a lot of information about that. But on top of that, we always think, and I always say this to everyone, I do this myself as well. When you go to an event and you give someone a price, if they say yes immediately, you're too cheap. So that means they had more, and this is just a very basic sales thing. If people say yes immediately to your price, raise your price. It's that easy because you need to start understanding yourself. When do I raise the price? When am I going to be good enough for this price range and for this, exposure that I'm doing? But it's very individual because if you have a very unique story, people will pay more of it. If you are obviously, if you are already a very high ticket in any industry, you're a known person, you're at least a little bit of a celebrity, or you're an influencer, people might pay more of you because you already have the visibility and people want to see you there. But if you are starting from the beginning, it's totally okay to do it for free in the beginning, just for the exposure. But especially in those events, take it on video. Make sure you can take it on video, have your own little microphone, even on your phone quality nowadays is amazing. Even on a phone video, just at least get something out of the event because the exposure definitely is going to be mandatory to be in this industry, to build up, to be in the industry, to be a paid speaker.
And there's two things I want to pick up on there, but they're slightly different. One was about obviously taking the video and then marketing the event, but I want to come on to that in a moment. The bit I wanted to come on to first was the story. You said if you've got a unique story, then you could potentially do more events and get paid more.
Yes.
Is your story something that you can utilize again and again for different types of talks, different keynotes, for different events, for different clients? Or are you crafting different stories for every single event and circumstance?
I've never been asked that question. I love that. Wow. Oh, man. Yes. Yes to both. You can reuse your own story or your same story, but I don't recommend it because, first of all, it gets boring. If the event is somewhere where there may have been the same audience maybe, and they may have heard your speech before, it's okay. I like to tell people it's okay. If you see that there's the same audience, it's like, and I love in here comparing public speaking to music. If you love a song, you will listen to it over and over and over again. If you love a speaker and you love their energy and you love their material, you will listen to them over and over and over again. There is no way TEDx speeches that have millions of views or hundreds of millions of views in YouTube, some people have rewatched that speech. So it's totally okay to repeat your speeches. But the second thing is that I would encourage everyone to do, and what I do a lot, is break down your story. So use this part of your story. So for example, in the keynote that I'm right now, and I always run with one keynote for X amount of time. And then if something else is requested, I draft something else or I go with something else. But right now, I, for example, have a keynote about public speaking. But on top of that, I go through a little bit of my personal story from the bullying background and from the confidence background, just like I today kind of gave a little bit of a background of myself. That's just one part of my story. So I am very lucky and unlucky, maybe that would be the right way of saying it, for having a lot of stories. I feel like I've gone through life 5 times already and just restarted it and have like multiple things happening to me. But that's because I've never been afraid to say no. I've never been afraid to say, oh, that I might fuck that up. it's okay if you fuck up. It's okay if you make a mistake. It's okay to say I was wrong. It's okay to say someone else knew more and they were trying to help me and I didn't take it. But the main thing is when people, and I love when people say, I don't have stories to share. And I'm like, how old are you? And they say, X many years. I say, well, there you go. There is at least X many stories that you can share. Because a story can be a coming home from an Uber from a bar to home. A story can be from brushing your teeth. I've heard a very brilliant story that was 7 minutes before of the keynote that was just about brushing their teeth. That happens to everyone, hopefully, every day. So it's that easy. You just have to find the story. But yes, to both. You can recycle your story and you can create new stories or find another shorter story that you can expand into a longer content. Yes.
Okay. It's interesting you hadn't been asked that before, because
no, yeah, that's
from a crafting a keynote point of view, I think that's quite important to get.
Yeah, definitely. Similar questions, but that particular one, no. That's why I'm like,
will you use the same story over and over again? Because you mentioned about watching TEDx videos over and again, for example, and you won't necessarily want to see the same speaker deliver the same talk. But I'll watch a stand-up comedy routine again if I found it funny the first time. I've watched certain clips of Eddie Murphy's stand-up from the 80s over and over and over again, just because the delivery is so good and the gags are so good. So if you've got a story that is a bit of a killer, people will watch it again. I did a talk in the UK last week in Preston, and I had somebody in the audience came to see me again, even though he'd seen the same talk last year. And I thought, this is a little bit stalkerish. It's only about social media.
It's called a fan.
He did say he's going to start my appreciation society, so that was quite nice.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Peter if you're listening to this. So let's go on to the marketing aspect then. You mentioned video in it for marketing.
Yes.
What sort of marketing materials does someone who wants to make a career in public speaking actually need to be getting out there, and what do they need to do on a daily and weekly basis?
Get comfortable in front of camera. Number one, out of doubt. That's like, film yourself brushing your teeth. Film yourself doing work. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. If you're really uncomfortable in front of a camera, film yourself on everyday situations. Film yourself having a conversation with your husband, wife, partner. Just film yourself. Get really uncomfortable, because this is true. It's always uncomfortable before it becomes comfortable. So that is the same thing. The watching the camera might be uncomfortable first. Like, that's not an eye, but it will get comfortable. Being overall naturally in front of it might be and is very uncomfortable to a lot of people, but it will get more comfortable. That's number one. Because only that way, when you start creating the marketing material, which is the important part, is it will be authentic. Because if you have not trained yourself to be fine with this little eye that's staring at you over there on the camera, it will never be authentic. You might be an amazing person. You might be very authentic. You might be really awesome. But then there's a camera in front of you and you freeze, which happens to so many people. It's totally okay. But it's really enough that you start from home and you start taking small clips. You start telling your day on a video. You can delete the video. You don't have to show it to anyone. Just start getting yourself used to it. But then after that, start going to podcasts, there's so many podcasts out there. There's always someone who's looking for, especially speakers, to be as a guest in their podcast.
There's a good one right here.
Yeah, right, exactly. If you're really looking for, being a speaker and you have a story, people want to share it. People want to share it. People want to have you there. People want to bring your energy in. But those are the easiest, because starting from those podcasts, you can showcase your energy level. You can showcase your story. You can showcase your authenticity. You can showcase so many things. And this is something that a lot of speakers forget, that even though this is not for a lot of people counted as public speaking, we are speaking to public just through a camera. It's recorded and after that put out to public. So it's public speaking. So this is where there's a big difference between being on a stage in front of 1,000 people and having a keynote rather than doing, for example, what we're doing here today. So it's all about understanding all of these different situations that you could record, doing recordings of your own. If you guys are not following me yet on LinkedIn, you can find me there. There's literally one person in this whole world with my name. So you can't find anyone else. I know I'm a unicorn. Thank you, Finland. but I do, for example, very short clips of public speaking tips, or I do clips of how can you can improve your confidence, or so on and so forth. Those small clips are all marketing for my speaking, because they're showcasing my confidence. They're showcasing how I speak. They're showcasing how I articulate. Because so often when we see a speaker, you will never buy a speaker unless you know how they speak. And all of these scenarios where you just have spoken out loud are cases where you can just show what you can do, show what you sound like, show how your energy is, show what your laugh sounds like. Like these are important things for an events planner who will pay for your speeches, to really know what's behind this gorgeous website that a lot of speakers have. And then they say, if you want to book me, here is the link. Well, but I don't know what I'm buying. In Finland, we have a brilliant saying. It's called, you don't buy a pig in a bag. So you don't yeah, I know, we're weird. So we have a lot of sayings, but the saying itself is, if you would to buy a pig, I know, ridiculous, you would want to see the pig first. You would not buy it in a sack. So yeah, I know.
I suppose, yeah. Of all the pigs I've bought, I've never bought one in a bag.
Hey, exactly. So yeah, so that's but it's about everything. You will never okay, unless you're in a TV show, but you won't marry someone before you see them, or so it's the same thing. Well, maybe in a smaller scale, but it's the same thing. You don't hire a person until you've done an interview with them, or you've seen them, or you've seen reference from them. It's the same thing.
You don't buy a car without going for a test drive.
Exactly. Exactly. Or you don't get married before a test drive either, unless, some people do. But no, but yeah, so it's exactly the same thing. So it's all about just showcasing you in every possible way, because you never know who's going to listen to showcase your show, or a podcast, or an interview, or anything. You just never know who finds your reels in Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. It's just, the world is crazy, and the more you put yourself out there, the more visible you are, the more opportunities you're going to get.
I love that. I'm going to use that pig saying over and over again. I'm just going to keep using it. You mentioned Instagram and TikTok and Reels. What social media platforms do you find the most success with getting your brand out there?
LinkedIn, out of doubt. LinkedIn for sure. It has been very beneficial for me for the last year, especially because I started putting more effort into it and actually a plan into it. I did use Instagram too, but my Instagram page for my business is quite dead at the moment because I'm not as active there. I am debating of actually even keeping it. I just don't feel like I need it. So I am debating of just deleting the whole page and just having my personal Instagram. But yeah, LinkedIn definitely. I am trying to build in TikTok as well, but I'm a little bit of a boomer with my mindset. So I have a TikTok coach, and he's awesome, and he's really pushing me outside of my comfort zone. So I am getting there. I'm getting out of my comfort zone because I live by my own rule. You have to get uncomfortable so that you can learn, you can grow, you can get better. So that's definitely a platform where I'm doing more. But as I said, I'm only in the beginning of my journey. I'm only in the beginning of my career. So even though I've really gained a lot already, but I'm still in the beginning. This is going to be a long journey ahead. So yeah, those are the two that I'm in now. But on top of that, I am trying to build YouTube at the same time. It's a really just a wild maze for me at this point, but we'll get there. I'll learn it one day. But yeah, LinkedIn I found the most successful for now.
And I have to ask, because I speak to a lot of people that use LinkedIn and sometimes YouTube, but they look at TikTok with a bit of suspicion. what does a TikTok coach actually tell you to do?
What doesn't he tell me to do? he has told me to just I need to give credit first. Elias Mäkinen from Finland, he also speaks English. Maxa is his nickname. He's awesome. His energy is contagious. He's so out there and he's young and vibrant and he's awesome. But he gave me one of the best guides that I will forever have with me and quote and, give him credit always for this. But he said TikTok is like a lottery. Every single video that you put out there is a lottery ticket. The more lottery tickets you buy, the bigger chance there is to win the lottery. And winning the lottery, in his eyes, is going viral, getting views, getting followers, and hence going big in TikTok, which is ultimately why everybody's there and why they're trying to build their business there. But if you post one reel a week, and now anybody who's listening, don't judge me. Yes, it's been a while since I posted on TikTok. I'll get active again now that I'm talking about it now here. But if you post one video, it might get like 100 views. That's great. If you post 2, 3, 4, yeah, a little better. I did this test. I got this crazy idea that I did over the Christmas. I did a Christmas calendar of public speaking tips. So I did 24 public speaking. It was exhausting. Man, it was the worst mistake of my life.
Really?
No, it was the best mistake of my life. Well, I made the decision. I got this brilliant idea on December 1st. And then I was like, oh my God, now I have to do it every fucking day. So it was really exhausting. I'm not going to lie. If anybody wants to copy that idea, please feel free to do so, but start filming now. Start editing now, because then it's ready and you can just post it and you don't have to film it every day.
So you were doing that every single day then? You didn't plan that out?
Every single day. It was exhausting, man. And there were so many days when I was sitting on the couch and I was saying to my husband, I don't do this anymore. I'm done. And he was like, nope, you're gonna do it. You promised your followers you're gonna do it. You said to yourself. And he was like 11:45 and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it super quick and I'm gonna get it out before 12. But it was a wild ride, but it was gorgeous ride because it teach me so much about social media. The first day was great. I got a lot of traction, and then following days, a little more. Midway, it got a little less, and that's when I realized my energy level went down because I had no motivation to do them. I was looking back to the videos and I was like, what the fuck was I doing there? Like, who is this person? And then I looked over the ending videos. Yeah, my energy is not my normal energy level in those videos, but it's still better. And that's where the traction started coming back. And the traction didn't come back just because I created something on a more higher energy level. The traction came back because I stayed consistent. So, and that's what my TikTok coach tells me all the time. The more consistent you are, but the lottery ticket was like, I was like, all right, if I want to win in the lottery, I got to start putting tickets in. So yeah, that's for everyone who wants to build in TikTok.
But you're still working up to that. It's still a work in progress.
I am. Oh, definitely. I've taken a long time of a break of not putting any lottery tickets in. So so maybe this week is a good time to remind me to get active again.
Definitely get active again, I think there. We talked about fear and overcoming the fear of public speaking before. But when you're about to get on a stage in front of, say, a few hundred or a few thousand people, does that fear ever really go?
Love this question. No, but the fear changes, and that's so brilliant. So what we call butterflies in our stomach, everybody knows that feeling. You're about to go on a stage. You don't know if they're in your stomach or if they came to your throat already. And it's like an overwhelming fear, because believe me, I remember that like it was yesterday. That doesn't go away. And that might be sad news for a lot of people, but you start understanding that these butterflies actually are your energy. It's the driving force that I said in the beginning. It's what will give you that extra oomph in the beginning of your speech. Now, when it comes, and since we're talking about right before you go on a stage, you need to start understanding that feeling is not going away. But that feeling, you will appreciate it rather than fear it. Because then you will know how to actually kind of navigate the butterflies through the right place. Like, You can cage the butterflies in the right spot on your stomach rather than having them just bursting all around. But I do have a tip for those people who are very nervous and the butterflies comes all the way to your throat. It's the very first day of my Christmas calendar as well. I gave this tip there as well. But when you are about to go on a stage, have a cup with you, because it's very normal to have a water glass or something with you, and put ice cubes in there. Every event there's a bar and they will always have ice. Put a couple ice cubes in there. And right before you're about to go on the stage, let's say 2 minutes before, you have done all of your vocal warm-ups, you are ready to go on a stage, but you are nervous as hell. You put the ice cube into your mouth before you go on a stage, because otherwise you look a little ridiculous on the stage. But when you're on the backstage and you're full of those nerves and they're just coming in and it's like, oh my fucking God, it's about to be my turn. I know that feeling. Put an ice cube into your mouth, because this will activate a fight or flight mode to your body. It's exactly like getting brain freeze. Keep your mouth shut with the ice cube in your mouth, because when you focus actually on the ice cube in your mouth and you focus on the nerves that goes around the ice cube, your other nerves will calm down. And this is where the nervous system and the butterflies will calm down as well. I'm not saying they're going to go away. Absolutely not. But when you activate a fight or flight mode, you activated it now. You didn't activate it when you just stepped on the stage. And that's the beautiful thing about this exercise. And it doesn't need to be long. It can be 10 seconds. It can be 20 seconds that you have the ice cube in your mouth, and then just spit it out. This is something that a lot of my clients have found very useful when they're in the beginning stage of their kind of overall speaking career. Ice cubes are good overall after speaking. If you really went wild on the stage and you're, really hot, just put the ice cube on your back of your neck and it's going to cool you down in like heartbeat. So yeah, those are the two things that you can do with ice cubes in public speaking.
Well, I've never heard that before. So that's actually going to be really useful to share that tip around, because I know a lot of people a lot of people get really nervous, even when they're delivering a talk in front of like 15 people. They get really, and you can see the fear and they start to hyperventilate as they're breathing and it goes. But that's a great
so
tip.
That's when and it's exactly the same as when I work with kids a lot in my life as well. When we work with kids and a kid gets a temper, they're like, oh, why the fuck did you take my ice cream away, when they were misbehaving. When we actually attack it and when we say, hey, we attack back, they're going to keep going. So that's the same thing. Our brain saying, you're going to be nervous. And the butterfly saying, I'm going to come out. It's the same fight. But rather than doing that, saying to the kid, hey, look at this. This is a chapstick. Have you seen this? They're going to now focus on this. It's exactly the same with the ice cube. You're going to focus on the ice cube rather than the butterflies. Hence, it's going to calm you down.
And it's interesting you mentioned as well, when you get off the stage, to put it on the back of your neck, because I feel like I want to impress you now. I've done some stand-up comedy and I've done a TEDx talk as well.
Have I.
So I feel I thought you might have done, actually.
Yeah, stand-up is a really close to my heart.
And it's a great tool for public speaking, isn't it? But what I wanted to ask about is that moment when you get off the stage, when you have just done a stand-up comedy routine, or you've done a keynote talking to so many hundred people, or you've done a TEDx, whatever it be, that rush is very hard to replicate.
Yes.
Do you find that you chase that and it almost becomes a drug? And how do you live without it if you're not doing it for a long period?
Good question. I haven't had the TEDx rush yet because I haven't got that far yet. That's still a goal of mine. But overall speaking rush, yes. And a stand-up rush, especially stand-up rush when you've had so many people laughing. It's the best feeling ever. That rush is just, I am hooked to that. I'm very much can go to any club where we're needed saying I am addicted. Yes. But that's not a bad thing. Being addicted to something that you earned is actually fucking brilliant. Like knowing that I've had an alcohol addiction, for example, in the past, that was very hard. Or I was so addicted to cigarettes that it was like insane even trying to get rid of it. But those were bad addictions. They didn't bring anything to me. But this one is hard work. This one is putting your heart and soul and confidence and your brutality up in there. Enjoy it. you earned it. So that's why being addicted to something that you earned will only make you hungrier to get on that stage again. You will be hungrier to start hunting down those opportunities. I want to do it again. I want to do it again. I want to do it again. And that's when you will get to do it again because your hunger stays high. Now, you don't always, not every speaker either is good enough or is, and that's just a brutal fact, but isn't good enough, or they don't have enough energy or passion or motivation, or their story isn't good enough, or it's not good enough, well enough drafted. And they don't get the speaking opportunities as often, but they experience the rush. That's where I really much relate. Yet again, we come to sports. I relate the speaking rush into sport rush. So going to the gym, I love going to the gym, but going to the gym and getting your PR, it's the same feeling for me. In a very small little nutshell, the speaking is much more, but I get the same kind of success feeling from what I'm doing. So those are kind of the small things that you can do if you don't have speaking opportunities consistently. Find something that you find the feeling of, I just succeeded on this thing. No matter how small, no matter how it is, it's the success that we are craving. That's the whole point where we are when we feel that rush of energy and when we feel that rush. But use the rush on the spot. Like, yeah, if you're hot, put the ice cube on your back. But use the rush as in at least film a reel. Take a video, just take your phone and just film a video. And because that's going to be the best energy you have ever had. It's right after the stage. It's right after the rush. You are going to be credible. You're going to be confident. You're going to be up through the roof. I was just a star on that stage. That's the point where at least do one video for your business, because that's going to be very beneficial.
That's good advice, actually, because usually when I've come off something like that, I've just started talking to somebody or boring somebody from the office. Yeah, look how amazing I was. And they're like, yeah, we've heard it before, shut up. But if you actually channel that energy into creating something that you're going to use for marketing, then you're right up there then. Yeah, you can't replicate that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, you want to watch back yourself on those confident moments, and the video is what you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. So what tip would you give to someone listening to this that's thinking, I'd love to get involved and do more, but what's the first thing they should be doing?
Join Toastmasters.
Toastmasters.
Absolutely, first things. And I'm not selling Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a nonprofit organization. I just fucking love Toastmasters. It gave me everything. It literally gave me everything. And I'm not saying it's gonna give you the same that it gave me, because everyone's journey is different in there. But you can take it in so many different directions. There's so many different ways how you can, find yourself in the organization and find the pathways and everything. You will learn when you go there. There's different pathways and different speeches that you can create. But very important thing is, because it's a global organization, find a club where you feel supported, because otherwise you're not going anywhere. So there is definitely, as there is in world, your personality is not going to match with everyone. So not every club is going to be perfect. But find a club where you feel supported, and that's where the magic starts happening, because it's tremendous. It's amazing. That would be the first step.
And Toastmasters is all over the world as well. It's not just in one particular country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. This has been fantastic. I've loved this. I feel like I've learned so much as well.
I'm so happy.
I nearly knocked my coffee over. Someone listening to this thinking, I want to get in touch with Susanna. I want to follow her. I want to have her be my public speaker coach, whatever it may be. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
LinkedIn. Absolutely. I'm the most active there. If you send me an email, I probably won't answer for a week. I'm really bad with emails. Sorry,
I can
guys.
confirm she won't.
I'm really, really bad with emails. It's my ADHD. It's my dyslexia. It's too corporate. I came from that background. I'm not in corporate anymore. LinkedIn. Someone sends me a message in LinkedIn, I definitely will get back to you. Now, I have had times when it has taken also a little bit of time, especially this new year. Something has happened. My profile has gone somewhere. Someone has tagged me on something. I've suddenly has got so many people messaging me and so many new followers, which is amazing, but I've got a little lost in there. So I'm now doing that and getting back to it. But yeah, I have even in my profile, just, a open calendar link. If you want to work with me, let's jump on a call. It's a free consultation. It's 30 minutes. We can kind of see where you're at, what's going on. What do you want to do? And it doesn't require anything. It doesn't require that we work together. It just requires you to have the confidence to say that I might need help. And I can help you on the spot on a little tip or trick. Or potentially if we see the synergies, because I don't necessarily work with everyone who wants to work with me, because I only work with the people who I can see that they're actually serious. Because my coaching method are very brutal and very straightforward. And if a person cannot be coached, I can't be their coach. So this is kind of why I do these consultation calls as well. So, but I'm more than happy to jump on a call with people for 30 minutes and give them either support on the spot, give them the right guidance, give them a colleague, or give them, someone who matches their personality or what they're looking for, and see how I can potentially support them. So yeah, that would be my answer for that. Obviously, you can also find me in TikTok and YouTube, but it's very small platforms there. So it's all about, I'll get more active. So.
Yeah, I'll put the link through to your LinkedIn profile and to your calendar, if that's okay as well, for that calendar link. I'll put
totally
that
fine. Yes,
below the video on YouTube and below the podcast. So anyone listening to this now, just scroll down and you can reach out to Susanna directly from there. So thank you very much for appearing on the Engaging Marketeer podcast. I've loved it. Your energy, your passion, the speed at which you speak is frightening. I have sympathy for our editor Leah, who now has to type this up, because when someone speaks as fast as you do, it means she's got to write a whole lot more than she normally would. So Leah, unlucky girl, unlucky. So thank you very much. I've loved it. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.